Okay, so let's jump into this Vaibhav Global Limited second quarter results for their fiscal year 2025. Looks like you've brought us their company announcement and their investor presentation, plus the financial statements. We got quite a bit here. So I guess what we're going to try to do is pick through all this and see if we can find some of the interesting
Like,
stuff.
there's a lot of information to get through here.
Yeah. Um, right away, that 13% revenue growth this quarter really jumps out, especially with how the economy's been doing lately. What do you think is leading to that success?
Well, hitting an all-time high customer base of 682,000 has to be a big part of it. It seems like they're doing something right to keep those customers around. And it's important to remember this growth happened even though there was a small dip in U.S. revenue.
So what's going on with the U.S.? Is that just a temporary thing, or is it something to be worried about?
Well, the company says it's from things outside their control, like the elections and the Olympics. And they're saying that those events might have pulled consumer spending away from them.
Yeah, those are definitely big events that everyone pays attention to. It makes sense, but it will be interesting to see what happens when we get into the holiday season.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if they can recover.
Okay, so they also declared that second interim dividend of 1.5 rupees per equity share for the fiscal year. That's a payout ratio of 89%. What's your take on that?
Well, to me, that shows that they're pretty confident in their business model and its ability to generate cash. If you look back, Vaibhav Global has a history of consistent dividend payouts, so it seems like they make it a priority to give value back to their shareholders. And I think this dividend declaration just shows that they're still committed to that.
Makes sense. Now, looking globally, the UK and Germany are showing some really good growth. What's going on over there?
So the UK's year-over-year growth was 15%, and a lot of that can be attributed to their Ideal World acquisition. It's already turning a profit, which I think highlights how good Vaibhav's acquisition strategy has been. They're not just buying companies, they're really good at integrating them and taking advantage of their strengths.
And it looks like Germany is on a similar path. 15% year over year, and even better, 25% growth quarter over quarter. It seems like they're on track to reach their goal of breaking even by the second half of fiscal year 25.
Absolutely. And it's not all acquisitions. Their organic growth strategy, which they call the 4R approach, seems to be working pretty well too.
Can you remind us what the four R's are about?
Right. So it's reach registrations and acquisitions retention and then repeat purchases. Basically, they're focused on reaching new customers, turning them into registered customers, then keeping their existing customers happy, and finally getting those customers to buy from them again and again.
Sounds like they're hitting all the marks there. Reaching 130 million households, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And their customer retention rate is 41%, with each customer buying an average of 23 pieces per year. Looks like they're doing something right to keep people coming back.
Their vertically integrated supply chain definitely plays a big role in that success. Their factory in Jaipur, India can make 5 million pieces a year, so they have a lot of control over their production process. This lets them keep the quality up, manage costs, and make sure deliveries happen on time.
Yeah, and that all leads to their gross margins of 63.5%.
Mm.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it shows how efficient they are. They're definitely making the most of that vertical integration.
Yeah.
Now, something else that caught my eye was their Your Purchase Feeds program.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic to see.
Yeah.
It's great to see a company making social responsibility such a core part of their business. They've already provided 93 million meals to kids in school, and they're aiming for 1 million meals a day by fiscal year 40.
Yeah, it's a really powerful example of how companies can make money and do good at the same time. It'll be interesting to see how they scale this program up and what kind of impact it has on their brand and customer loyalty.
So looking at all these financials, what do you think analysts and investors are going to be zeroing in on with these results?
Their strategic investments in things like digital marketing and new TV homes will probably get a lot of attention. These investments had an impact on their EBITDA margin this quarter, so it'll be important to see how they translate into long-term growth and profits.
So they're taking a hit now for a potential bigger payoff later. It's definitely a balancing act.
Exactly. And how well they can keep that balance while dealing with the economy and competition will be key to their continued success.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely a tough situation to be in.
Yeah. But they seem to be handling it pretty well so far.
That's for sure. It'll be interesting to see how they do next quarter.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think that's a good place to stop for now. We'll pick this back up in the next part of the deep dive.
Sounds good.
See you then.
Analysts will also be interested in seeing how their recent acquisitions do, especially Mindful Souls in the Netherlands. They expect it to start making money soon, and if it does, that would show that Vaibhav knows how to bring in new businesses and use their existing supply chain to make them more efficient.
Right. It's like they have this talent for spotting potential and then figuring out how to make the most of it.
Hmm.
Speaking of making the most of things, how do you see their focus on social responsibility impacting their bottom line? We talked about the Your Purchase Feeds program earlier. It seems like more than just a PR stunt.
Yeah, it's definitely more than just your average corporate social responsibility. By making it a core part of who they are as a brand, they're appealing to consumers who care about ethical and sustainable practices. And that's a growing group. It's not just about doing good, it's about doing good business by doing good. And that can lead to more loyal customers and a stronger competitive edge.
Right. So it's actually good business sense
Yeah.
as well as being the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I like that. But, every business faces challenges. What are some of the things that could trip Vaibhav Global up going forward?
Well, the global economy is always something to watch. Things like inflation problems with the supply chain and consumers changing their spending habits all have an impact on how well they can perform. Plus, there's a ton of competition online. They've got to keep innovating and finding ways to stand out to stay ahead of the curve.
So how are they addressing those challenges?
Well, their ongoing investment in digital marketing shows that they know they have to adapt to how consumers are behaving. And expanding into new TV homes also helps them reach more people. Plus, don't forget that vertically integrated supply chain of theirs. It gives them a level of control and flexibility that most of their competitors just don't have.
You're right that vertical integration seems to be a big reason why they're so successful.
Yeah, definitely. It lets them control costs, maintain quality, and change quickly when the market demands it. That ability to adapt is going to be so important as they try to deal with the uncertainty of the global economy.
It's been really interesting to see how all these pieces come together. Their acquisitions, their expansion globally, their commitment to social responsibility, and their strong financial performance. It really looks like a company that's not just surviving, but really thriving.
Absolutely. They're playing the long game, balancing growth with profitability and consistently giving back to their shareholders.
A perfect example of that long-term vision is their Your Purchase Feeds program. It's a commitment that goes decades into the future. They're not just thinking about the next quarter, but the next generation.
Right. I think the main takeaway here is that they're focused on creating sustainable value for their business and for society. They're not just selling products, they're building a legacy.
And that leads us to a question for you, dear listener. So, thinking about everything we've talked about, their expansion, their strong financials, their commitment to doing good, what other innovative strategies could Vaibhav Global use to keep up with changes in retail and reach those ambitious goals? What could they do that we haven't even thought of? It's something to think about as we wrap up this deep dive.
It really is a great question. Five Have Global definitely seems to be a company that embraces innovation and being able to adapt. They've shown that they're willing to push boundaries and try new things, like with their vertically integrated supply chain, their customer engagement strategies, or their dedication to social responsibility.
Right, and they're not afraid to make big moves, like that 89% dividend payout ratio. They seem to be constantly changing, always looking to improve and grow.
Exactly. So while we could try to guess what specific strategies they might use, I think the most important thing is their mindset. They're committed to creating long-term value for their shareholders and for everyone. That approach, along with their proven track record of adapting and innovating, suggests that they're in a good position to deal with whatever challenges and opportunities come their way in the future.
It's been really interesting to take a deep dive into Vaibhav Global. They're a company that seems to be doing exceptionally well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to evolve in the world of retail. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Vaibhav Global Limited. We'll see you next time.